Good morning, motivators. Some of you might think that with the name change and the change in direction that I'm not into triathlon anymore. That couldn't be further than the truth. I think that triathlon is an excellent way to challenge yourself, to go long, to see what you're made of, and that gives that structure and added health that endurance sports provides. But it's got to be done well. Some of the people who are doing it really well are the athletes on the Zwift Tri Academy. They are some of the best triathletes in the world. These guys and gals are so talented. So what I ended up doing was working with our sponsors at Zwift and getting answers to some questions about how us triathletes should train that we can learn. Answers from the Zwift Tri Academy members. Like, how are they training in such a way that is allowing them to consistently win world championships and go to Kona and be unbelievable athletes? The first answer I want to share here is from Lucas Bosmans from Belgium. He's a police detective, so he's got a real job. And what we asked him was, what aspect of triathlon do you feel that you do really well that other people should focus on? And his answer is so simple because it's so true, but it caught me off guard because it's so simple.
I think I'm particularly good in the transitions. It's a really easy way to gain some time. You can easily win 2 minutes in an Ironman, and it's not that easy to gain 2 minutes on the run. So that's why I think it's really important. During the season, I'm also doing some short distance races, which keeps the focus strong on transition. So that's what I really like about racing the short distance as well. And it's a good thing I can transfer it to the long distance. So the minutes to gain are very cheap. So it's a very important thing.
Lucas is an age group world champion at the 70.3 distance, and he's a multiple-time beer mile champion. The next answer I want to share is from Eric Engel, who just recently finished as the 3rd overall amateur at the Half Ironman World Championships. And he's got multiple age group wins to his credit. We asked, what is one thing that you think busy triathletes should focus on more, and how should they do so?
If you're a busy triathlete and you are strapped for some time, the one thing I'd focus on is being consistent. Whether it's the swim, bike, or run, or some strength work, just being consistent at it. Even if you're not able to get those long bike rides, long swims, or long runs in, if you're consistent at it every day, even if you take a couple days off, just stay consistent. Especially with the swim, I've learned, especially over this year, that being consistent at the swim, even if you're only putting in 1,000, 1,500 yards in a day, just making sure you're hitting the consistency on that. You don't need to hit big numbers every day. You don't need to hit big numbers every week. But if you're being consistent in all 3 disciplines, if your body can really feel that consistency, and especially in the swim, you're getting used to that, feeling the water. In the bike, your body's getting used to running off the bike. So just being consistent. Don't need the big volume numbers. Just be consistent in what you're doing and making sure you're hitting those those feelings and getting your body used to those feelings as much as you can every week.
Next, we're going to hear from Rebecca Duxbury from the UK. Now, she just kind of came out of nowhere, got into triathlons, and right away became a podium contender. What we asked her was the opposite of the last question, is what do you think the busy triathlete should focus on less?
Less junk miles, less sessions with no goal and no purpose. But I think it also very much depends on what distance you're doing. So, for example, if you were looking at Ironman, I would focus more on the distances where you're out there for the disciplines where you're out there for longer. So if you're doing, I would focus more on your bike than on your swim, because a mile an hour's difference on the bike is likely to make much more time gains than a minute on the swim.
Next, we're going to hear from Kristen Yaks from Oregon, who is a mom, a PhD. She is very busy, very talented as a multiple-time age group champion. And we asked her, what is the thing that people can emulate that has allowed you to be successful in triathlon? So not things like VO2 max that is just genetic, or standard things like hard work that is just sort of table stakes. What is something that is unique to her that we can emulate as amateur triathletes?
At the end of the day, I think for me, I credit my success in the sport to intrinsic motivation. Triathlon has become much more than a sport to me. It's become part of my lifestyle, part of my day-to-day routine. Most days I wake up and I don't even have to think about it. It's just, I know that at some point in the day I'm going to bike, or I'm going to run, or I'm going to swim. And it just gets integrated into my daily lifestyle and routine. And for me, I would say that it's more than just racing. I don't just do it for the racing. Even in 2020, when racing wasn't happening, I ran and biked most days. I wasn't swimming as much because our pools were closed, but I still wanted to do those elements of the sport because it's important to me. It's important to my lifestyle. I truly enjoy it, and I want to do it, and I love the challenge that it adds to my life. Even one little workout, I try and find the challenge and kind of the fun or the uniqueness of that workout, and I think that for me is what it's all about. My advice for others would be, not that you can emulate intrinsic motivation, but I guess I would say, I would ask somebody, what is your personal why? And discover the intrinsic value of the sport and why you do the sport. Because if you're doing it for more extrinsic reasons or reasons that you quite don't understand, then it might be harder to grow in the sport. But if you're internally driven by swimming and biking and running and seeking out those challenges, I think that growth just naturally occurs because of that, and I think that it can lead to a lot of success.
Look who joined us back there, NTK and Gracie.
Hello.
And the last question we asked is going to be answered by Vanessa Murray from Australia, who has, of the last 7 races she's entered, she has been the overall female amateur winner. What we asked her was, if you could be like czar of triathlon and change the training of every single triathlete around the world, what would you change? I really, really liked her answer. And with this new direction that we're going in, I think it's very fitting to end with this.
I think balance. I think that, as athletes, we obviously we dedicate a lot of our lives to the sport, but I think it's really important to still maintain some level of balance and not get too hung up on one thing. So I know for myself, I do a lot better in the sport when I do achieve a little bit more balance. I don't get too stressed out on, going out and having a dinner with friends and having a wine here, or, having a bit of what some people might call a cheat meal. I just believe that, with balance, everything is a little bit better. And I just think that there are some athletes out there that probably don't have the right balance and maybe, don't know how to unwind. And I feel like, if you can achieve that balance and learn how to unwind, then, you enjoy the sport that much more. And I feel like it's really beneficial. And I know for myself, there's been periods in my sporting life where I haven't had balance. And right now, I feel like I'm in a really good place with my life and with the balance. And I feel like my results are showing that because I'm doing better in the sport.
And we also need to give a shout out to Kansub from Korea, who is himself in his 60s, a 10-hour Ironman athlete, really, really talented. We just didn't feature him because he doesn't speak English. Registrations for the Zwift Tri Academy are open. It is the best supported triathlon team in the world. I've been to some of their training camps, and the amount of stuff that they get, the treatment that they get, is like they're a professional athlete, better than some professional athletes. If you want to try to be on the Zwift Tri team for next year, go to zwift.com/ZA-Tri. And even if you don't think you've got the stuff to do it, you're going to get really, really good workouts that you can do over the remainder of 2021. I'm going to try to do them all in 1 week. Later, motivators.